Hello, everyone. This is Al Fadi, and I'd like to welcome you to our apologetic series that we are going through here to refute the Islamic claim that the Quran has scientific miracles in it so that it justifies its divine origin. And with me here is Dr. Jay Smith, who's been doing an amazing job, of course, to work with me in terms of criticizing those claims, refuting them, debunking them, but also we've been looking at the Arabic of the verses in the Quran and what the commentators periodically are saying about it. And we are also showing that there are additional scientific errors in these very passages that our Muslim friends are trying to use. Today we're going to talk about one of those hot ones called the embryonic development, basically. So basically it's embryology right now. We're dealing with that kind of, topics in the Quran, and our Muslim friends use this a lot, by the way, to try to show that somehow God, through an illiterate prophet 14 centuries ago, described the stages the embryo will go through. And how did he know this, since he wasn't a physician or a doctor or anything like that? And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Smith, to analyze this argument.
Okay, this is you're right, this is one of their biggest ones. This is the one that Morris Bukai spent so much time trying to underline, and many have run with it. You will find this come up in chat shows, you'll find this come up on the internet, you will certainly see this when you're on the ground and you talk to Muslims. This is probably the first one they always bring up, so we're keeping it to last. That's why we are ending with this one as far as time proves. And to understand this, you need to go to Surah 23. In chapter 23, verse 13 and 14. Let me go ahead and read it, and I'm going to I'll ask you then to define these words as we go through it. Thereafter, we made him as a nutfa in a safe lodging. So, what is nutfa as far as you're concerned?
That's the sperm,
Okay, so there's a sperm.
That's right.
All right, that's observable, right? Yeah. If you're a male, it's quite observable, okay?
And I think even some commentators have said both male and female, basically sperm. I mean, they kind of invented a new idea.
Okay, all right, let's continue on. Verse 14. Then we made the nutfa, which is a sperm, into a clot, which would be the alaka. Okay?
That's right.
And what does alaka mean to you?
It will be a blood clot, And by the way, here, I just want to say something, and you can elaborate later. When you say blood clot, we're talking about a dead tissue, dead stuff, not something that is live.
So something that you would see in a miscarriage.
Right.
Do miscarriages happen all the time?
No.
No, they don't, but they do happen.
They do happen,
all over the world. We've had miscarriages.
Right. I mean, you mean like do they happen? Yes, periodically, absolutely. I meant like I thought you saying every time there is a.
It's quite normal to have a miscarriage. They're very normal. That's what I meant. I should have said that. They happen all over the world all the time. So this is something you could observe. And have you ever seen a miscarriage? You probably haven't seen, but have you seen a picture of a miscarriage?
I've seen.
Do they not look like clotted blood?
They do.
Exactly the very thing that's here. So alaka would be something that's quite observable, and it happens all over the world. It's happened in my own family, and I haven't had it with my wife and I, but we've had cousins who have had miscarriages. I have been with people who are going through miscarriages. I have seen with my own eyes a result of a miscarriage, and it's exactly what I would assume alaka is. Okay? So that's not a miracle, again, all right?
That's right.
That's not a miracle. And then it goes on, and these we made the clot. So it's even saying clot here. We made this clot, this alaka, into a nutfa or mudga. Sorry, mudga.
That's right.
So what is the mudga?
Mudga is here, it means like a lump of meat. I mean, it's like, here's what happened. When I chew on meat, you use the word madaga. You're chewing, So it does look like something that you can chew on. It's meat, basic piece of meat that is dangling maybe, or something, an outgrowth or some of that nature. It looks like muscle mass,
so it's quite observable.
Exactly.
And anybody that's a doctor or anybody that's an embryologist would suggest that that's what this is referring to. And then it goes on to, we made out of that little lump of flesh bones, and then we clothed the bones with flesh.
And that's where the another problem here.
Okay, and before we get to that problem, some say it's 4, some say it's 5 stages. Well, the sperm is the first, or the zygote, some people call it, and then you have the alaka, which is which is a clot, blood
Right.
clot. And then you go to the flesh, or the chewed flesh, the lump, and then you go to the bones, and then you go to the flesh that is
Right.
bones clothed by the flesh. So that's the outer flesh that we have, the muscles and things like that. There is a problem here, but before we get to the problem, there are quite a few people that would talk about the stages of embryology prior to the Quran. Am I correct?
Right.
Hippocrates talked about it.
That's correct.
Aristotle talked about it. I think Aristotle had 15 stages in his stage, and they were writing in the 4th and 3rd century, 3rd and 4th century BC.
Right.
Long
Exactly.
before, sorry, this straight, long before the
Right.
Quran ever talked about it. But probably the person we need to go to is actually a fellow named Galen. Are you familiar with that
That's
name?
right. Galen is the one who developed those stages.
And where did he live?
If my memory served me right, it was somewhere in either Egypt or the Levant area.
Actually, further to the east. He lived in Ctesiphon.
So,
Ctesiphon,
Persia.
which is today Baghdad.
That's right.
Where Baghdad is today.
Yeah. Okay.
And where that is the archaic name. And that he was a Jewish embryologist. He lived in 150 AD, so he lived in the 2nd century. Galen was was well known
Yeah, and I
in his
think where I
writings.
got Egypt is like there was a university supposedly in there that
So-
teaches.
but they would have
yeah.
been teaching this in Egypt as
That's
well.
right.
So that
Yeah. Yeah.
listen, this was known. If this was he was writing this in the 2nd century, this was then disseminated right across the known world at that time. Even those who put the Quran together would have had access to this
Absolutely.
material.
Absolutely.
It was well known that Galen was considered to be the authority on the embryology, and he had 4 stages. The exact same 4 stages that we have just read.
Correct.
But he didn't talk about the sperm so much, because sperm is is really not really a stage of embryology. It's what creates and starts the embryo. But he talked about the zygote, which then became the chewed meat, which then became the bones that were clothed with flesh.
Right.
And there have been many, this Dr. Cook that the Muslims like to use to say, see, he got it. He said that this is correct. And they went and brought this guy and had from Canada, and they had him go all over the Muslim world to show that the Quran is correct. He has got it corrected. This is, as embryologists, this is what we believe today.
Right.
We tried to phone him up, and he answered the phone. His wife had him get off the phone because he does not know, he no longer wants to go public with what he said earlier, because other embryologists have held him to boot. Mm-hmm. The reason why is what you're going to tell me next, and that is that Galen made a mistake, didn't he?
Well, Galen probably went by what he can observe,
Okay.
not what he understands.
And where is the error in this 4 stages?
Well, I mean, one, like number 4, for instance, the idea that bones first and then muscle mass.
There it is, right there.
I mean, it's. I mean, I've been, to the ultrasound room, and I've seen my kids, and I can tell you, I didn't see skeletons. I saw beans, in there.
The two, they actually form simultaneously, don't they?
That's right.
You don't have bones forming suddenly, and then suddenly this thing is wrapped around it. It's just
That's right.
That no embryologist would agree with that. Galen may not have even wanted to say that. The thing is, it's obvious they've taken Galen's writings, they took it wholesale and incorporated into chapter 23, verse 13 and 14. Along with the error that Galen made, that error is now found in the Quran.
Correct.
So this is not a miracle, is it?
That's right. I mean, if the God of Islam didn't know that there is an error here and reported it accurately according to someone, a human, a doctor of those days, who, by the way, he did his best. I mean, he doesn't know the creation and the stages. That's what he assumed.
Yeah.
If the God of Islam, the all-knowing God, didn't know that, then shame on him.
Yeah, and here's a man in the 2nd century. Now, be careful. I have to be careful because some have pointed out that the Galen was also well known in Pergamon, and some say that he also practiced in Pergamon, which is in Turkey. But certainly, it's that part of the world where these would have been sent down, disseminated into that whole Middle Eastern area. Egypt, they would have known about this. They would have known as far away as what is Tehran today, because of the fact that it was so well known, it would make sense that it got incorporated into the Quran.
But brother, I mean, let's take Galen out of it, okay? Let's take Aristotle and anyone out of it.
Yeah.
Just today, modern science have shut this claim down. Just today. don't our Muslim friends jump all over today's discoveries to
Yeah.
tell us?
Yeah.
Well, today, science discovered that this is wrong.
That's right.
So what do we do with that?
Well, I would like to ask a Muslim, what are they going to do with that? Because if God, who creates everything, if God really is the creator, don't you think he would have known how an embryo forms? Wouldn't he have known that one does not precede the other? The fact that it was observed by Galen or others is superfluous. You're right, because what the real question is, we've got a problem. This
Absolutely.
God would not make an error like that if he was a real God.
Absolutely.
And that's why I always make sure that Allah has God with a small g.
Amen.
No God that I know, not the God of this book, would make that kind of error.
Amen, brother.
Okay,
Amen.
terrific stuff. Thanks for bringing me on there for this.
Well, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. As you can see, we are doing our best here to try to be as professionally as possible in critiquing these things, supported by evidence. We're not just being emotional in our argument, by the way. We're trying to be scientific, if you wish, when it comes to those arguments. So hopefully you can benefit from these tools, use them in your own ministry. And if you're a Muslim, please reach out to us with your comments and your observations. Until we meet again, may the Lord bless you all richly. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, hit the bell so that you don't miss future videos. And please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Sira International. And together we can introduce Muslims to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you.